Dr. Eric Westman with Adapt Your Life, and today's talk is about keto confusion and metabolic flexibility. Before I get to the talk, I just want to remind you about these upcoming Adapt Keto events. These are events on Saturdays when we connect local keto experts with people who follow or are interested in keto diets. So on March 7th, the Adapt team will be in Long Beach, California. The following week, in March 14th, we'll be in Winchester, Virginia. And then on March 21st, the Adapt team will be in Atlanta, Georgia. I hope you can make it to one of these Adapt Keto events where we will connect local leaders with local followers or interested people who want to learn about it. So I'm finding a source of confusion among my patients because there's so much internet information. And I just want to clarify that there may be a metabolic flexibility issue. If you're at a plateau or you're not sure where to start, you're trying to find internet resources that fit your approach, your goals, you have to consider your own metabolic flexibility. And so in my clinical population with patients who have diabetes, they have metabolic syndrome, they have insulin resistance, that's on the far left of this figure, they have to keep the carbohydrates really low. So in my clinical population, I teach the ceiling or the maximum, the upper limit of carbohydrates for the day to be 20 grams per day. And that's total grams, not net grams. So if you have insulin resistance, diabetes, if you're insulin resistant, meaning you have high triglyceride, low HDL, your body weight is a BMI over 35, 40, 45, somewhere in there or above, then you're going to want to stay on the far left side of this figure and keep the carbohydrates very low in order to have the diet work for you. Remember, this is a diet involving nutritional ketosis, which cuts out the hunger pretty much automatically. So you can lose weight without hunger. And I use this in my clinical practice. I've been studying it and using it at Duke since 1998. Now, part of the confusion comes in when one of my patients follows someone on YouTube who is able to eat more carbohydrates so they're not insulin resistant. So in the middle figure here, if someone's insulin sensitive, then they can eat more carbohydrates and still have nutritional ketosis, the hunger gone away, and they can lose weight. So one example of that is if you're following a young couple on YouTube who are doing much more in terms of net carbs, they're doing coconut flour, almond flour, using those sorts of things, it might not work for you. So if you're trying to find someone, a good tip is that find someone on the internet who's gone through the same issues that you have. So if you have diabetes, try to find someone to follow who has had diabetes and fixed it on their own or with a doctor. If you have lots of weight to lose, follow someone who has that similar journey, because they'll understand how strict you have to be. So even a change from net carbs, so total carbs to net carbs, can make it not work. That basically means you'll eat a couple more cups of vegetables for the day, which doesn't seem like much, but it actually can make a big difference. Now, on the far right, if you're following someone who's in the CrossFit gym every day, or any gym, they're young, they're active, they're healthy, and you're following them and they're eating all sorts of carbs, you wonder why it can't work for you. Well, it's the metabolic flexibility. The younger you are, the more active you are, and the more insulin sensitive you are, the more metabolically flexible you are, which means you can eat more carbohydrates, get away with it, if you will. So be careful about the source of information, the people you follow, especially if you're following people. I encourage you to find YouTubers who are doing this and sharing information. Another tip is that if you do make a change and it's not working for you, don't think that it's not going to work for you anymore. Just go back down the carbohydrates this way and I'm pretty sure that will work for you. So again, in summary, just be mindful of your own situation. Are you metabolically flexible or not? Meaning, if you have insulin resistance, you have to keep the carbohydrates very low. And you may be confused by other, quote, keto recipes or keto products that are not low in carbs, and they can work for other people, but they might not work for you because you have to be stricter. And I bring my perspective from a clinical population, people who have diseases like diabetes. They have hundreds of pounds to lose, so they have to keep the carbohydrates very low. So don't be confused by the other folks, and it's not wrong to, someone gave me a product today, it was called a keto shake, and then had 7 grams of carbs in it, and it will work for people who don't have insulin resistance to be keto by having shakes like that, but I don't recommend doing a lot of those shakes if you're insulin resistant and have type 2 diabetes on the far left side. So that is a common source of confusion these days. Why is that person having success? Why is that labeled keto when it's so high in carbohydrate? It's because some people can have that amount of carbohydrates, but you may not be able to. And again, that's my clinical experience. Just want to remind you again about the Adapt Keto events coming up in March. We have the first event in March 7 in Long Beach, California. Then the Adapt team will be in Winchester, Virginia on the 14th, and then in Atlanta, Georgia on March 21st. Adapt Keto events are a way to connect local keto experts with local keto followers or people who are curious about the keto diet. I'm Dr. Eric Westman. Until the next time.